sister is the founder and CEO of Allure Africa. She's also the only female among Ghana's 10 most respected CEOs in 2012. She was nominated as one of the 10 most respected CEOs. She's also CIMG's marketing woman for 2009 and the chair lady of the SPA Association of Africa. Amongst other things, she has a TV show. She's a well-respected person in the industry. She's a brilliant entrepreneur whose inspirational talks and motivational talks have impacted a lot of people around. I'm not going to waffle on about who she is because I think most of us know her, but the best person to talk about herself is her. So without much ado, let me introduce you to our speaker today who's going to talk to us about the Allure Africa Spa story. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sure you've already introduced yourselves, and we're ready to go. So I'm not going to keep you very long. But before I start the story, I'm going to share with you a few shifts that I just found in the past 2 weeks. I've been traveling, and I have attended a couple of conferences, and basically they were all global summits. It was very interesting what I found out, and I wanted to share a couple before I got into my story. I wanted to ask if you knew that we are just in the beginning of another global transformation, and in addition to everything that we've been seeing, technological changes, information age, social media, and so on, there's another shift that's coming. Life is about to change again. First, the research stated that there will be movements of populations, and Africa is going to grow the quickest. It's going to grow quicker than any other continent in the world. Second, there's going to be a power shift. So for the men, get ready. They said there's one man to every 8 women. But in this case, the power shift is not about size or numbers, but for the power shift is actually going to happen based on authority, leadership, business, etc. Women are going to take over. And it's going to become more and more evident. That's what the research states. Now, this was the interesting one. A university degree, regardless of where it's from, is going to have no commercial value. It doesn't matter where it's from, Harvard or from University of Ghana. It has no commercial value in the next shift, which is happening just about now. Two kinds of things are going to happen. What is going to have value is two kinds of knowledge. First, what is called articulate knowledge, and the next one, passive knowledge. I will recommend that you can read more about it in this book. His name is Neil Nordstrom. He's a Swedish economist. They just finished the research, and the book is called Funky Business. Funky Business, New Dimension. So you can check him out. Did you also know, second thing I found out, I feel very good because I feel like I'm sharing this first. So I'm releasing the new information first. Did you also know sales are no longer about the 4 Ps, 8 Ps, 6 Ps, porters, etc. Not because there's no value in the degree. It's not even about positioning anymore. It's not about reach, awareness, all the business terms we know. But now, it doesn't matter what product you're selling. The focus is now about 4 things. We are selling experiences. We are selling dreams. We are selling context. We are selling activation. No more are we selling products, services, trying to reach the consumer. But this is what we're sharing. Interestingly, after I left some of the sessions, and I actually tried to go for the sessions that were what I would say very strange in all the conferences. So I went for the research sessions, the economic sessions, global shifts, etc. I found something on my way back, and I wrote it on the plane. I realized that some of us may have known this a long time ago, but we probably did not know that this is what we're actually doing as business people. We may have known some of this, maybe not all of it. And that was the key to trying to build our businesses. I think some of us who are entrepreneurs, some of us who have been trying to build brands and get known for it. And I think that was our point of difference. What we knew was that we needed to be different, but we probably didn't know how. We probably didn't know the way to be different. So I realized that the point of difference was the key thing. But wait, one thing I also know now, after those sessions, is that these two are very important. And I'll leave you with a breakdown of this before I go. Because every time I share a message on entrepreneurship, I always like to leave a lesson or something that you can use. Not just my story, but what it was. And I thought that this shift is going to be very important. So I also found out that these two are very important. And I'll talk about it as I talk about my story. So what does our story look like? We're going to talk about Allure today. What does Allure really look like? We've heard so much. I always talk about Allure and I always say survive, thrive, drive, arrive, keep driving. Because the Allure story, as is known, is literally my story. The Allure story is Jiwani's story. And I'll tell you how I'm able to use this to make impact. The Allure story is my story because it's my journey. Everybody talks about entrepreneurs bring ideas to solve problems. Yeah, probably. But I had a lot of them. I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of family problems. I had a lot of family issues. I had a lot of issues that have made me what I am today. My story is a very simple one. I can't say it because it will take me 10 hours, so I'm going to break it down. But all I know is that I grew up in a home where, of course, I was raised by an old lady and an older man, who was my father and my grandmother. I didn't understand why I was being raised by them. But I realized along the line that my mother had a problem in 1997. In 1977, sorry. She traveled to the UK. On her way back, they spent some time with some friends. She met a lady who told her that she's a very beautiful woman, but she can even look better for her husband than she looks. So what she decided to do was find out what the lady could help her with. And the lady told her, there's just this new cream that has come on the market. It's in the form of a soap and a cream. Just apply it to your skin overnight. My mother, being this excited young woman who's following her husband, who travels all around, speaks just like I do, lawyer, does business. She thought, okay, let me look good for my husband. Let me apply this soap and then apply the cream in the morning. So she did, just like a friend, and she trusted this friend. So she applied it. She didn't even realize what the problem was. But all I remember is we went to Kotka Airport, and when we were going to pick her up, when we got to the plane and she came out, she started squealing and squealing in pain. All we could see was, it looked like her face was on fire. Her beautiful, straight face that had nothing on there began to turn red, and as the sun hit it, it got worse and worse. I don't know whether you realize, whenever you get off on the flight, the first thing you see is that Ghanaian heat that hits you. This was an absolute flight. She was literally burning. We had to pick her and rush her to the hospital. We tried to throw water on her face. Nothing could be done to help her. Her face had transformed from a different color, discolored, burnt from the forehead to the sides, her neck, the back. All of a sudden, this woman who was confident, bubbly, excited about life, it seemed like time stopped and her life stopped. Her self-esteem went away. She became a different person, a recluse, locked herself in a room, and started drinking alcohol to satisfy herself. So when I saw that, honestly, I was spending more time with my dad. So even though I saw my mother going through that, I guess I was shielded from it for a while. I saw it happen, but I spent more time with the old lady. So I would go with her, and I think she found things to occupy my time to prevent me from seeing what was going on around that time. So what I remember was that this old lady, I would wake up and she would tell me, let's go to work. And I used to wonder, 10 years old, 8 years old, 17, what am I going to work? But then we'd go to Piccadilly. I don't know whether anybody knows the fire service on that main Hollywood Road, fire service original station. That's where Piccadilly biscuits were. She was a trader in Piccadilly biscuits. So what she did was allow me to see her trading. We'll pick up the biscuits and we'll come home. And then that morning I'll get ready and go to Richard's school. When I was going to school, she would tell me, do you know that when you come back, you're going to go out and sell this? And I said, how? So when I come back, she would say, take 10 pieces and don't bring it back. So I'll stand in front of our house and I'll cry because I didn't know what she wanted me to do, and I thought she was a very wicked woman. Until one day, I decided to go to the next shop and cry. But what I did differently was I told the gentleman in the next shop, my grandmother said I should not return home with any of these, so please can you take one? And he did. So as soon as he did, my first sales lesson, I went to the next shop, and the next shop, and the next shop, and I came back. Then I would come to my father, the same thing. He would carry me to the office, and he would say, sit at the table and work out accounting numbers. Mr. Ebua, who was the accountant, would tell me, your father says you should work. So he would tell me, write this for me, general ledger, cash book, fill it. I was 12. I didn't know what they were, but I was doing the manual accounting, we called them. There were no computers then. So that is how I picked up those. But on my journey, there was one thing that always worried me. My mother's problem. My mother's skin issues. Why wasn't my mother the way she was? So it began to affect me personally. Affected my self-esteem. Affected who I was. So I started eating like crazy. Every time I wanted to feed my soul and my spirit after work, I would read and I would eat. And I became bloated, probably size 18 US. And that was what my first aha moment was. But I then got the opportunity to work for an entrepreneur. I left the country and I went to school. So I had self-esteem issues. I had problems, and these are just two of my problems. My background was finance, financial services. Nothing to do with what I'm doing today. I worked in a financial services company. The rest is history. Came back to Ghana, working in a financial services company. But every night when I was outside, I used to think of my mother's problem. And all I could do was, how could I solve the problem? So I started taking courses on skincare, started taking courses on wellness, started taking courses to try and relieve my mother's problem. So I had all those certificates, those diplomas under my belt, but I was still working in finance. And then I came to Ghana. Now I had come face to face with my mother's problem. So with that problem, I decided, okay, then I'll start a business. If the business cannot fix my mother's problem, I'm going to make sure nobody else will get into my mother's problem. And that's Allure Story. So it was somebody who basically had problems, had seen a problem, but my problem wasn't my issue, it was my mother's issue. And my goal was to help everybody never get into my mother's room. So that was the first. I said I was going to set up a spa. Everybody thought I was crazy. I went on TV. I said I wanted a TV spot, and I went to talk about it. When I got to the TV station, one of the most popular in Ghana that you know, the first discussion that the guy said, I said, I want to talk about spa. He said, oh, the cards, what are you going to talk about the cards that we do? Because there was no knowledge, there was no understanding, there was no concept. So I came back and I said, okay, then I'll start something like a salon. Maybe over time people will get a spot. So I did that. I set up in my father's living room, just two of us. I had no clients, nobody showed up. I stood at my gate for weeks, nobody showed up. And one day I saw a lady and I said, I'm going to do this for you for free. All you have to do for me is tell one person that I have. So that was where I used my sales, my crying sales, to sell the Piccadilly biscuits, to sell to this lady. That was how we got our first client and the rest for it. The strategy for Allure was then very simple. For us, there was nothing about spa in the market. There was no knowledge. So the first year of the business was focused on education. All we did was go everywhere and anywhere we were called to educate people on the brand. So for us, our brand penetrated the market first by education. That is how we even made it in this country. People would hear about Allure and wonder what we do. Educating people about beauty, educating people about wellness. So our penetration strategy had nothing to do with sales, business structure, business planning. No. It was simply education. So that story became a story, became my journey all through. Now, I want to tell you 4 things, and then you can ask me questions. Everybody talks about the fact that talent isn't much without passion. That's true. But for me, my first point to get Allure up was purpose. Yes, talent isn't much without passion, but passion isn't much without purpose. So for me, talent matters, indeed. Every entrepreneur will talk about passion, and I am passionate. But I think if your passion doesn't have a direction, a clear purpose, that passion stays as a passion. You would always be passionate, but the direction of the passion would not find an end. That's one of the things I found very early. Right after educating, I realized that I needed to identify what I was passionate about and where I was going. Yes, I was passionate about my mother's problem, but I was doing so many things. I was doing beauty, I was doing financial services, I was doing catering, I ran a conglomerate, I was still doing my financial services business, I was still trying to make cash to survive. Doing about 5 things. There was one time I had a business called the Eagle Group. Probably we did about 5, 6, or 7 things at the same time. And at that time, I hadn't identified my purpose. So it's okay when you start your business not to identify your purpose initially. Just be passionate. So along the line, I found out what really is my purpose. In trying to find that, I coined passionate purpose. I found out that my focus was to help people, not be like a man. My focus was to help people. Even if you have a problem with self-esteem, you can get out of it. My focus was to help people to understand that if the journey is a little bit difficult because you have a physical limitation, a mental limitation, you can get over it. So that began to craft my purpose. And then that is what I put my passion behind. Next is what I call 2 different desires. The next thing I did in Allure was that I decided to be a little different. Not to differentiate my brand alone, but within the differentiation, make a difference. So my thing actually took the other form. In trying to make a difference in other people's lives, whether it was for free or paid, it doesn't matter what it was, I became different. What set my brand apart was not because I was being different. It was because I was making a difference. So once you make a difference, on the way, you will find yourself being different. One of the other things that I realized along the way was the fact that money doesn't just come. I don't remember having capital. I remember having 30 C's when I was starting. 30 Ghana C's. And what I did was, at that time, I bought one dryer. 30 Ghana C's was 300 then. When I started Allure on the 3rd of August 1998. That week in July, I had 300 C's. With the 300 Ghana C's, I asked the first lady that I was going to work with, what can that buy? So she told me it can buy a dryer, it can buy rollers. So I asked her, what else would we need? She said a comb. She said, but we need a trolley. Then I decided, no, you don't need a trolley. All we have to get is a bowl. Trolleys will come later. So I got a bowl, I got rollers, I got a dryer, and then I got the combs that she needed. And that was all we had. So the team, and I'll talk about that in a second, the team that I had, or the person, the one person team, found another person who joined and said, okay, we are going to go with you. We'll wait for 3 months. All we need from you to go home every day is transport. We will not take money from you, but we'll take transport from you as salary. So in the business model, we didn't have salaries, we didn't have operational expenses because I was moving from, I was in my father's living room. So the only operational expense I had was electricity. Even water, I had stored water for about a month. At that time, there was no water use, so I had water in my house. I remember very well. So she did a deal and said, this is what I was going to do. What happened was that she asked me, are you still going to open the doors? I said, yes. So one of the things I found out was to start anyway. When I started, I didn't go banging down doors and asking for money or for new money. What I tried to ask for was people who would be able to help me build my business by starting my business with. I found this humility in approaching people for help very key along my way up. The farther up I got, the more humble I became. The more I went to people to ask for help. When I say asking for help, begging for help, it's not saying, give me money. It's saying, I'm offering you this. Can you please do this? Fourth thing. A lot of people start businesses and they decide that they want to be thought leaders. I believe in thought leadership, but I believe more in mastery. If you want to be a world-class business, the owner of the business must master your purpose and master what your purpose is. People tell you, yes, you don't have to know anything about it, you can hire people. But one of the things I would say is that if you have any brand that has a technical component associated with it, you, the owner of the business, must have mastery over it, even if you don't use it every day. Because one of the things I find out in brands that are technical is that whenever you hire a technical person, the life, the breath that the business breathes is in that capacity. You can hire operational people, you can hire professional people, but in the Allure model, one of the key things that has kept everybody on a leash has been my technical mastery. One of the biggest problems in our business, in our industry, when it comes to wellness, when it comes to beauty and any of that, is what we call a high attrition rate. A lot of people have the highest attrition. I'm talking about turnover of like 80%. Where you can hire staff today, and within the first few weeks, they will go away because there's demand. The difference in Allure is the fact that I have the technical mastery myself. So I can take an empty person from the streets and train them, and they'll be on the job the next day. So that has made me be able to be in control. So it doesn't matter how many people turn over, I can go and stand at the front desk myself and work, which I have to do sometimes. So what happens is that I can have leadership, thought leadership, understanding of wellness, understanding of where it will take you. But if I don't have mastery over that business, probably we will not be where we are. And that mastery became very visible when I fell into crisis. You may not know, but Allure went into crisis mode in 2010. We almost closed the doors of our business in the year 2010. Everybody sees Allure and sees the brand. And one of the things that brands do, wonderful brands do, is that when you have a brand name, it always covers your crisis. So while underwater, everything is shaking, on the top, it looks beautiful. So everybody sees the brand and it's like, I want to do business with this brand. But they don't know that there's a lot going on inside. The waters are being stirred. Serious issues are happening inside. But what keeps? And I found that mastery very important during my compelling crisis. Our business brought in a team of people. We thought we were going to take us to the next level. Expansion was fast. Developing a new product line, opening new branches, quick expansion. All of a sudden, Allure was on the roll. Multiple were going. I wasn't looking back. All I knew was that I had a fantastic, solid management team that was running. And I kept going like the typical entrepreneur, creative, excited, looking for new things, and not looking behind. And what happened along the line was that when you were not looking behind, things were also falling. So as an entrepreneur, you can go as far as you want. You can try to expand as fast as you want. But the issue is if you don't look behind, the cracks will fall. So I didn't look behind, and we started losing money in droves. While I was expanding, the business locally was losing. So one of the first things you need to do is, when they talk about keep your eye, you really have to keep your eye. It doesn't matter how high. There's a saying that up until today, Oprah Winfrey writes her own checks. Up until today, every single check that goes through the organization, she sees it personally. You can imagine the size of her organization. But what is said is that she writes her own checks. Why? Maybe that's another way of keeping it up. So when I went through crisis, as we were expanding, things were falling through the cracks and we were losing money. And one day I came and we had lost major money. And I had to sit back and regroup. And that was when I had to go back to scratch. Decide to stop, even close down some of the expansions, and say, as an entrepreneur, with what I have inside, I will start and grow organically. Start again with a team. Filter and see who can do what. Restructure, as they call it. But it was a very different kind of restructuring for me. It was a strong aha moment. But one thing I know is that it built me, my defenses, strength for our company. But the powerful thing you need to know, and I'll share with you, that happened during this crisis, was one of the amazing moments in my life. That was why I find people to be very critical in your business. People talk about people, but my people were really my people. When my business ran out of money, we had gone for months where there were people who were not earning salary. Key people. You are talking about key people that out about one person. That person even went for 6 months without salary. I didn't even know. I thought people were about 3 months. And let me tell you what happened. The day we were at the business, there was an issue with the bank. And the bank said they were coming to close the business because there was an error in transfer and there was no money in the account. So they were coming to close the business until we sorted it. That morning, I was having a briefing session and I was called. When I came down, I said, fine, they can close the doors and then I'll leave. My staff went out, spoke to the bank, and told them to keep this place open, but close one of our other branches. That's not the great thing. As I drove and I got home, I told everybody, shut down, company cars, everything. Just go home. I need to sit down, regroup, plan. I'll call you tomorrow as to the next steps. And I'm talking about a huge number of staff. Within a matter of 10 minutes, I had a line of cars at my gate. The staff at Allure walked into my house and they said, Mrs. D, we are all going to sit here and work with you until the business opens up again. We are not going home. If the doors are closed to the office, we're going to sit here. We're going to work. They grabbed tables, chairs, notepads, and we worked. They worked from my house, and they announced to people. Marketing kept moving, finance kept moving, operations kept moving, HR kept moving. But what people did not know was that that week we worked from my house. We put Allure on status and we worked from my house. These staff are still with me today. The lady who I started Allure with almost 16 years ago was with me for 15 years. She just set up. I just helped her set up her own business again. That's what people did for me. That's the kind of entrepreneurship story that I have. The central part of every crisis is not money. The central part of every crisis is not the structure. The central part of every crisis is look at every crisis in this world. Look at every leadership crisis in this world. It's never about the structures. It's never about the cash. It's never about the documentation. It's all about people. So I learned that whenever you see compelling crisis, first for the problem, look to the people. Second, for the solution, look to the people. And that's what I did. So for the problem, yes, I looked to the people, but I put myself first because I was the first person that created the problem. But for the solution, the people showed. And those people that I'm talking about are still with me. They were still with me through the recovery. They were still with me through the crisis. They are still here with me today. And that is a journey that every entrepreneur must walk. You see, failure is actually the first step. Listen, the earlier you make your mistake as an entrepreneur, the better. Because you will make a mistake. And probably it's better to make it earlier than later in your journey. Because what happened? I'm talking about the major mistake, not the ones we do day to day. So when you're an entrepreneur, look for an opportunity to make a mistake. Look for that opportunity first. Now, the other thing I would say about entrepreneurship is where I talked about compelling innovation. You know, a lot of times when you get to that point, and I got to that point much earlier in life when I had lost my self-esteem. But as an entrepreneur, I hit it. And one of the things you get to is you see a wall. A very, very high wall. Normally, that's the way it looks. It looks either like a wall or it looks like a roadblock. Either way, when that thing happens, most of the time, that is the critical point where the entrepreneur shuts down. But when that wall comes, when I describe innovation in very simple terms, when the wall comes up, I tell you to stare at the wall. And the wall is so high, you know for a fact that in this situation, you can't climb over the wall. So you know what I do? always trying to take a hammer and create a hole to see what's behind the wall. As long as there's potential there, I would crack the wall, create a door, and walk through it. So normally, crisis lets you understand people, but crisis brings innovation. Whenever you see a crisis approaching or a crisis coming into your business, the first thing, instead of looking at the problem, look for ways to innovate out of the crisis. And that's what I did. I froze for a while, just like everybody else. I froze, but I was quick to say, compartmentalize the problem. This is the problem that's here. What other skills do I have? What other potential do I have? What do I have locked in my closet that I can use to bring the business back? So I quickly fell back on my financial career. I quickly fell back on my consulting ability, and I went back to work. So while we were trying to recover the business, I was doing consulting. I was working everywhere else I could consult to bring back the business. So I went to fall back on where I had left. And that is how I came back. So I had to find ways to innovate. In addition to that, it helped me discover my new journey. My new journey is now where I am. It helped me evolve because when I did consulting, every time I come back from work, I would come and I would work in Allure like I used to do when it was open in 1998. And I would get to meet clients over and over again. I remember 2012, 2011, 2012. And clients would sit on my couch and they would have one-on-one conversations with me and they would tell me what they were going through. And I remember that I had a skill of helping people resolve their relationship issues, self-esteem issues, networking issues. So that couch became another business. But at that time, it was free. And then I picked up, I got a call. And then the call said, Chiboli, we love your couch. I said, really? I said, yes. People are telling us about your couch. And I said, really? What? They said, would you like to carry your couch on TV? And I said, carry my couch onto TV? They said, yes. Exactly what you're doing at Allure every day. In addition to, no, at that point, they didn't know I was in a crisis. They just knew that I had innovated and I was doing coaching because I had studied coaching. So that couch, a production company said, we'll partner with you to set up your own show. And that is how the Jiboli Show was born. So the Jiboli Show was born in the crisis. The Jiboli Show was that innovation in the couch that was carried onto TV. I didn't have the Jiboli Show before the crisis. The Jiboli Show was born. So when I found that inner voice to speak in my failure, in my mistake, that became what people see on air every week. So when you are in that situation, start looking. People, start looking. Innovation, start looking. Opportunities. I agree with what people say all the time. Leadership, vision, capital, expansion, all good. But there are some core things that you cannot run away. I think that we turn the power off too easily as entrepreneurs. We believe that along the way, we get to a certain point, we shut down on our power. I don't say that an entrepreneur should not burn out physically. I don't say that an entrepreneur should not continue to do what they do. But one of the things that we shut off easily is the ability to create. Once we create a good business model that seems to be working, and we try to get that business model working, we then shut down power on the business model and just focus on that. I love focusing on my core competence, but I don't like to call it core competence. I call it purpose. Because that purpose always gives you new ideas. I am standing here today in recovery on a new journey because I I decided to power on through my purpose. So what has happened is that I have a core solution to solve. Everybody that connects with Allure or Jiwadidosu, engages with Allure or Jiwadidosu, will find one thing. That you would be transformed to live your life by your own design. That is my purpose. I help people transform to live their life by their own design. That's something. And to do that, I have to keep powering on with new ideas. So as an entrepreneur, stay within your purpose. Don't have too many competencies, or don't use too many competencies. Keep your core competencies. Stay within your purpose. But always be on power. Because the ideas that are going to bring you money, meaning, wealth, are all in the power. I wasn't a speaker. Because, can you imagine anyone with self-esteem issues rising up to speak? I wasn't. But because my power was on, I was able to wake up one day and speak. So keep your power on. The ideas will come. The opportunities will come. Make sure that don't focus just on that thing called talent and passion. Identify the purpose within. Don't try to be different alone. But in trying to be different, try to make a difference. And in crisis, find the mistake and then look for the solution. Going back to the kinds of knowledge, and that's where I would leave you with. I found out that articulate knowledge is simply this. You may have the degree, or degrees, or qualifications, but the only way you can be of value to any organization in this world is to be able to express that knowledge through articulation, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing, by making an impact. So once you are able to sell that commercial value of whatever you've learned, because a lot of people have multiple degrees, they are doctors, they are philosophers, but what they can do is that those degrees sit in their room. A company hires you with an accounting degree. What is the accounting degree? How is it being articulated within an organization? So one of the things I realized that with Allure Story, we had the knowledge, we had the mastery, we had all of that. What we did was to communicate that knowledge. And once you get people to take action, that is where your value lies. But it doesn't lie in the degree in itself. It doesn't lie in the qualification in itself. It doesn't lie in the knowledge that you gain in itself. But it's your ability to articulate that knowledge through your products, your services, and let people buy it. That makes a difference. Passive knowledge, everybody knew it in education. But passive knowledge is knowledge that is communicated through technology. Everybody's hands are on Twitter. Everybody's hands are on Instagram, Follow-gram, whatever you would call it. Everybody's hands are on social media. When people sit, they may not talk. Even in this room, as I'm talking, somebody may be recording what I'm saying. Somebody may be capturing notes. Trust me, this information will be on social media in seconds. As I'm speaking, people are tweeting. If what I found out that if your knowledge can be transmitted through technology to get people to act, that's also knowledge of value. So as I continue to learn, I learned that these two knowledges are what we need. Not necessarily the degree, not necessarily the qualification, but articulate and passive passion. Leaving you with two thoughts. I told you to make your mistakes very early, because the most valuable thing you can make as an entrepreneur is a mistake. Make it quickly, make it now. Adam Osborne is an entrepreneur who said that. And this is what I love the most. Oh, do you want to take that? The most valuable thing you can make is a mistake. You can't learn anything from being perfect. And my favorite one, and I think that's really who I am in many ways, is that entrepreneurship is the last refuge of the troublemaking. You create trouble everywhere you go, and eventually they'll tell you, shut up and use it for something. And I think I was talking so much that they said, shut up and use it for something. Today I'm speaking. But what this simply means is be disruptive. I don't know whether you've now heard the word disruptive. Disruptive businesses are businesses that are making it in the world today. The global businesses that choose to be disruptive are the ones that are making it. So what I want to tell you is go and be disruptive, but start causing good-natured trouble. Not just trouble, but good-natured trouble in your industry and in your business. And this is my purpose, and this is my aim. I like to help people to live their lives by their own design. Literally, I tell you, go out there and live your life by your own design. Do your business by your own design. Write your purpose by your own design. Whatever you do, do it by your own design. And I'm very sure that you'll be able to survive, thrive. When I thought I had arrived, I went through a crisis. I had to survive again. So it's like a cycle. So once you do this, you survive, you thrive, you arrive. But keep driving. I'm still on a journey. The Allure Story is just beginning. Every Allure logo you see a butterfly at the top of it. Whether it's my 5 brands. I started in a small living room. Today, we have 5 brands in services, in education, in distribution, in image consulting, and then we have a new product line that is about to launch. In all the 5 brands, there's a butterfly. The butterfly is simple. The story of Allure is a metamorphosis. It evolves every day. And every time, we keep evolving. So this journey is a new journey. Lifestyle coaching, speaking, entrepreneurship. We keep growing. So hopefully, you'll come on the journey with us. Hopefully, we'll see you along the way as new entrepreneurs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very powerful message you've impacted. I think we've all picked something from it. I certainly have. It's a humbling story when we hear yours. I had no idea that's how it started. But I will start off the question and answer session with my question. You mentioned your team and how important they were to your business. But what everybody's struggle when you're starting is finding the right team. So how do you find your team? How do you keep your team? What's the secret?
Well, I think when I look at people, for example, a lot of times people talk about, you will always find both wrong and right people in every recruitment process. There's no right way of selecting a person, and I want to be honest about that. We talk about it all the time, even in our entrepreneurship network. I talk to people all around the world. This team issue is not limited to African businesses, it's worldwide. The whole process is, when you're looking for a team, I think people talk about the key questions you want to ask. It's not about what they show you on the table. It's not about what they bring on the CV. But it's about, first of all, the questions you ask them. For example, everybody in hiring a team brings a case study or a problem, the last problem the company had, the first problem the company had, or the second problem the company had, and give it to that person to try and solve. That first answer you get will be able to let you know whether the person aligns with your values or not. That's one. But for me, in addition to all of that, but aside from giving the person a case study, what I do is I have a certain level of intuition. I go with my gut. The same way I take risks on businesses and make mistakes, I do that with people. But one of the things that I've realized about my team is that I've had the right people. I've had the wrong people. But when I bring them in, is what I start with that I'm able to tell whether. So the recruitment process for me is not that first bringing them in, but it's after induction, after orientation. That first 3 months is when I know I have somebody who's a keeper or somebody who's a user. So I always tell an entrepreneur, don't look so hard on the first day because you really will not find anything. What you find on the first day is always face service. What you find on the first day is all your service. The unexpected people, totally unexpected people, are the people who end up being the keepers most of the time. And for me, I've never had a situation where I would say this person worked out and then it stayed like that. No. So that's, I take a risk and then the third one. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You've told a very compelling story. You've also told a very personal story. So I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Sure.
How did you go with your mother?
Well, I wasn't able to solve my mother's problem, unfortunately. I was able to get my mother to live her life by her own design. I wasn't able to solve her skin issue up until today. But what I know is that I've helped many people not to get into that problem she is. That's one of the things. So it's more of an achievement to me than my mother. But what I can say also is that along the line, I was able to help my mother build her self-esteem. I was able to help my mother stop drinking alcohol. I was able, do you understand those things? I mean, my mother who would do certain things, she was able to stop along the way to sort of reduce that context of her life, get better, improve her confidence, move from one place to another. So I can't say that that was something. That is what drives me every day. Because I tell people that there are some things you can never turn back. Because my mother is going to go to the grave with. If there was a solution, trust me, I would have been the first to find it. I've been everywhere. And I am a skincare expert. I'm a wellness expert. So I should have fixed it by now. Whether it's dermatologists, whether it's doctors, whether it's laser, we've done everything. So whatever it is that happened on that day, it changed their life forever. So I tell people, watch what you even take and put in your mouth, put on your skin. What people tell you, be careful. So I spend my days coaching people on trying to live your life because I believe that if my mother was extremely confident in herself at that time, as young as she was, there are certain things she could have said, let me check this out. So I tell people, ask questions. When you see a bottle, ask questions. That drove me, like I said, to one of my Allure brands. Kanshi is a new brand we launched. The Kanshi product is 100% natural. Why? Because I believe that people can have natural products for their skin that will give them results, not necessarily to bleach their skin. And I'm on a campaign against bleaching, against anything which goes against the natural. For me, I'm making impacts and I'm actually helping people have better image. My mother literally dropped from somebody who carried herself so well. She stopped looking right. She stopped acting right. Now I go on every platform to tell people, before you can enter, people, you only have 30 seconds to make an impact. Make sure that that impact is right. So what I tried to solve was to get into wellness, get into skincare, get into image, make it my life and my passion to transform people every day. And I do that every day. I think every day I talk to somebody. I try to talk to somebody about transforming their life. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to find out, you said when you were away doing all the many things was when the issue started happening.
Yes.
So what are you doing now to make the business more sustainable so that it outlives you?
Yes. That's one of the things. I love what you just said. What I did was at that time is that there's, people talk about empowerment, okay? But once again, it comes back to people. It's empowering, it's who you empower, not the empowerment in itself. When you are an entrepreneur, the key people you identify, so I didn't change my strategy. What I actually did, trust me, in the new journey, I decentralized my business even more. I didn't say, because I've gone through this crisis, oh my God, I'm going to have a leash on my business. Now I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch everything. No. But I keep my eye. Now I'm more involved, but I'm involved through people I've empowered. Do you understand what I mean? And I think it's more of the kind of person you empower more than the empowerment in itself. So I've empowered certain people, and at least the people I empowered since then are still in the same roles. So it tells you, I mean, the people building for me has became a priority more than money, more than anything. I mean, I focused on people building more than raising new capital. For a while, I actually literally stopped and spent time on people. And it was very difficult, but we all had to go through it together. I had to stop the business, train, retrain, reorganize, restructure. At that time, we're probably barely making money. But after we did that, it made our recovery faster. So you really need to spend time on people. Trust me.
So how did you inspire loyalty in people to work with you for up to 15 years? How did you work?
That's the point I'm making. I think, where is Eko? Is Eko around? I don't know. You should ask my staff. It's asking a question. How do I inspire loyalty in people? Because he's one of my people. He's one of my minds. He's been with me for a while. They've been with me for years. The thing about it is, I think what I just talked about, making them more valuable than money sometimes. Because you see, in Allure, the experience of us, the experience helps us more than the revenue or the cash. We make that priority. So we build wealth more in capacity building, development, and experiences more than, and I think that it helps us be strong. And I think what happens is that it helps you resist crisis more for the future. Because now we know what to do better. We'll continue to make mistakes. But I think it will help us, it has helped us become stronger. What would you say? Say something. You do what?
I put on my career, not by education with crisis.
Yeah. So maybe he's saying that as for him, his career, he's thinking about his career. So the experience of building a career with Allure, I think that's why I'm saying that after a while, maybe first 3 months, first 6 months, begin to identify the people. At that time, we were in the hundreds. At that time. Today, we are probably 70. We are lower than, as in terms of numbers of staff. But in terms of quality, capability, we are more. So we are less in numbers, but we're doing more. Way more than we're doing then. Yeah.
As I listen to you, you sound very upfront. You say things how you feel them. Does that help in creating this thing that you're talking about? Does that help in?
Yeah. Sorry. I thought you had landed. Sorry. Very true. Transparency. I mean, okay, for example, I can share with you one of the major things we do in Allure. If anybody has worked in Allure, they can tell me. Every morning we have a session called briefing. Every morning. So the first thing we do before you report to work is to come to briefing. Every day, every morning. We sit, we talk about what happened yesterday. Every day, I'm talking about every day. Doesn't matter how much we grow, we can grow to be 1,000, we'll still do it. It's actually part of the policy. So you report to work, you report to briefing. A discussion is held, and it's a very short 30-minute huddle where we discuss, we go through, so we have a period, we either do a training session, a short training session, or we have discussions about what happened yesterday and what we're going to do tomorrow. Every day. I don't know whether that helps, but that is something that we do in the business. So we started with it, and we've continued it every day. So people have to come to briefing, and then on Fridays, the whole company gets together. On weekdays, they do it at their different locations, and on Fridays, we all come together in one location. So, I mean, it could be, and it's gotten better. We've improved it. We use those times for, that's what I'm saying, new capacity building, learning a new thing, identify. So, for example, we find out about articulate knowledge and passive knowledge. We'll go and treat it, we'll go and understand it, and try and use it in our daily work. So I don't know what else.
Can I?
You can.
When the crisis happened, was it that people were stealing money? Was that what happened?
I like him a lot. He's my favorite president. Yes. Well, let me put it this way. We lost money, but I actually like to coin the crisis more as mismanagement. You see, more than misappropriation, but I would call it mismanagement. And you see, one of the things that entrepreneurs fail to do is that when they talk about crisis, they leave themselves out of the situation. But I believe that the crisis in Allure was caused by Jibodidos. She is the author and the finisher of the crisis. Because even if I was doing what I was supposed to do, the crisis will happen. You see what I mean? It's good to love people. I have entrepreneurs in my company. I have people who call Allure their own. For Allure is a family. Even though it's a business, it's a family. We do together, fail together, struggle together. Now, as we live, we are like a family. But the point about it is that there's always a mother or a father in the family. And when there's a problem in the family and there's no school fees for the children, who is the problem? Would anybody call a child? No. You would say it's the father. So early on, I realized and recognized that instead of looking at the crisis and, like you said, stealing money, misappropriation, whatever, once it was mismanagement, the onus falls on the father of the money. And that's how I look at it. So the Allure crisis was me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If you have to start all over again, what are
That
some
question
things
came
that
up.
you do?
Yes. What will I do better?
Differently.
What will I do differently if I was starting again today? People. Once again, I take it back to people. If I was starting, people, you see, let me say something. You would think that I'm best with people. But when I'm going to start something, I'll start with what I'm best at. What I have mastered. You see, because a lot of times, if I leave what I've mastered, I'm going to lose the world. Capital is very important. Modeling is very important. I always talk about, in our last strategic management session, one of the things I said to them, and I said, hashtag modeling is way stronger than hashtag planning. Because a business model is way more important than business plan. The business plan is not the business. The business model is the business. So for me, in a business model, the key thing for me is the things that I've been good at doing. So if I'm going to start a new business model, the first thing I look for, so do you know why I'm saying this? Because every new brand that I start, the person that starts it is the most critical. Still, today. Because I don't run all the brands. When I start a brand, I have to get somebody to come and head it. And the first thing I do when I'm starting a business is not look for the capital. It's not look, because you see, when I get that person early in the game, I align with that person. Together, we look for all the things, the logistics, the resources. Even with that person, I design the model. I have a vision, but I make that person design the model. So I always originate with what has worked. So if I were to start a new brand today, which we are starting, we just started a new retail brand, which is coming on the market in the next 3 months, you're going to see it. That brand, the first thing we did was to put a person in, not the money. So people, again, because that person is working with us, we designed the model with the person. So a person came and understood the model before anything else. I guess I'm passionate about people, but in a different way. Yes, ma'am.
My question is more personal. You talked about your calling, how you inspire people and motivate people, but I'm more curious as to
Not motivation or inspiration, transformation.
transformation.
Yes, I
Okay.
transform. I help people transform. Motivation is good. Inspiration is also good, but I love to transform.
But my question is who inspires you? What inspires you?
Oh, I love that. I'm inspired by many things, but one of the key people that inspired me in life was the same person that beat me up every morning. My grandmother, not just beat me up every morning. But I mean, I don't know if I can ever be who she was, but I live every day by some of the models I learned there. My level of being able to, people talk about, I don't believe in the concept of balance. People talk about work-life balance. That's another controversial thing. I don't believe in. Because I'm a family woman. I'm a wife and mother. And people talk about balance. I don't believe in balance. I believe in the whole family. I believe in somebody who's able to have it all. But I don't say trying to balance this, because balance is like a skill. But she taught me that you can have it all. You can be that woman who gets up at dawn to go and do business. And you can still be that woman in the home. And you can still be that woman who heads the business. So if you want to talk about my first core inspiration, sometimes when I'm making a decision, I'll sit down and wonder, what would sister do? That's what we call it. What would my grandmother do in this situation? It may not be, it may be Allure, but I'll ask that question. What would she have said? And probably that's where I start from. So what drives me, what helps me transform? Maybe her first. I mean, God is everything to me. But when I look at human being, I think I'll bring her first. And then I have many women and men around the world that inspire me. I mean, I look up to a lot of them. Fortunately for me, I've met some of them personally. If I'm going to list, maybe one day I'll put the list of my role models on Twitter or my Facebook page for you to find out. Probably put that. But I have a list of them. I think it's about 6 or so. But my grandmother, my father, those people I saw in my formative entrepreneur. I don't know whether I'm a born entrepreneur or whether I'm a made entrepreneur. But either way, I started it very early. Either way, I started it very early. At 12 years old, I really remember doing a lot of things.
Miriam?
I believe you value progress. So how do you best make Allure a learning community? Not just for the staff, but for the society as a whole.
Oh, I think I told you that the first way our market penetration strategy was education. We haven't stopped. We still share a wealth of information with people. I think I spend probably, I don't know, maybe she would, my advisor will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I spend 80% of my time training and educating. Now, in terms of what I do personally in the business, and probably 20 to 30% of my time with the team. As a CEO, I don't run any of the brands on a day-to-day basis. But I think training, going out there, training on image, training on relationships, training, developing people, and creating a learning community everywhere I go is what I live for. That's actually what I live for, is to help people live their life by their own design because of what I've been through. It's my journey, like I said, it's my story. So if I meet you, you cannot have this issue. You cannot be like this. There's something you can do about it. So I'll find out your issue and find out how I can help you get out of it as a coach. So I think I create a learning community everywhere. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. For aspiring entrepreneurs, I was wondering, when you first started off and things were going very slow and difficult, how did you keep yourself motivated and how did you persevere in the difficulty of trying to build your business?
I kept creating. You know, one of the things I always say is that if you are not doing it already, start doing it now. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur, keep a journal. Very important. Write about what you're going through every single day. Even if it's 4 lines, write. When you write, as you write, an idea will come as to what you can do. Find information and keep a journal. That's one of the things I did. I used to write a lot. I mean, now that's why on my blogs, I'm always writing about something or something I found out to try and help people. But the thing about it is that, write, that's the first thing. Secondly, you see, when we went through the crisis, that is when I realized, I always say that money is important. But organics, I did a lot of things in the business organic growth. You see, a lot of us who started businesses from the tabletop, from the study room, from the living rooms and so on, I don't think any of us had really a lot of money. I don't think so. But I think we had to find one or the other. If you don't have money, you have to find a network. She talked about community. So one of the things I always tell people is that when you don't have money, then find community. Find either an online community or a network where you can find somebody that can give you an idea. Because, somebody's sales would just be a phone call and their life changes by one contract. So don't sit. That's what I talk about, cracking the wall. If you look through that hole, you find somebody who is doing something that can help you. A lot of my new markets have been created. A lot of those came in my earlier stages. Somebody just told me about an opportunity, then I'll try and go and solve the problem there. And because I had purpose, I was able to sell it. Because I didn't have any money. Trust me, I didn't start Allure with any money. That's why I say capital is important, but I think being in a network of somebody to just see what you have. You keep banging on doors, making presentations. One will just... There's this young... I do a lot of my social media work myself, but there's this young social media guy that I found very interesting. I was trying to do something with my show some time back. And then I'm talking about this about 2 months ago. And this is what I'll tell you. I thought, from the way he was described to me, I thought this guy was big. And they said, okay, you can get ideas from this person. He gives it but he sells his ideas. That's what the person told me. The person recommended him to be from the industry. All he'd done was sold something to that person for free. Helped that person do something for free. The person recommended it to me. I recommended it to somebody. Because the person always wanted to know how I did mine. And I said, well, I think sometimes you need a social media expert. This guy had practiced this so well. Never had any business. Did something for somebody for free. Came to my office. From the way he was able to present to me, I recommended him. And he got business. Why am I saying this? This guy presented to me like he was $1,000 guy. Later he came to tell me, he said, Mrs. Joseph, for over a year, and I have done 110 presentations. None of them made it. But I did work for that woman who spoke to you for free. I met her through an online community. The person recommended him to me. And today, not only is he giving me ideas working, but he's also got another job. And he's doing his overnight success. So I think sometimes, that's what I'm saying, we press the off button a little early. And we think only of the cash. How do I start? I was talking to one of my staff this morning, and the conversation we're having is, I think we spend a lot of time thinking of how I can do this and what I need to do with money, without rather thinking of what can I do without money, instead of what I can't do. So you shouldn't say I can't do this without money. Say what can I do without money. That's the point.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. I promised, somebody sent me a Twitter message about online business, and I just said it. I promised to answer this, and I'll tweet it back. But basically, the person wanted to know if an online business would work in Ghana. So I said I'll throw it back to you guys. What do you guys think? An online boutique, would it work in Ghana?
Yes. I think it's a market for everything.
I think there are a couple of them already working. It has a few constraints, the payment system, and the fact that many people don't use online payment systems. But people have found interesting ways around it, and they are making it like for them, like the mobile money and the little. If you're able to work around the payment system, which a lot of them have done, maybe you pay into your bank account or something, and it's working. I think for a startup, it's probably even a good idea because the rent costs are really high. Tony is here for 4 years of running his business, he didn't
Oh,
have a
it's
shop.
okay.
So recently, he was selling online. Until recently, he didn't have a shop.
So are you selling online now?
No, we have payment challenges, online payment challenges, yes, but we do a lot of online marketing through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and our website.
So what do you deliver? Like, how do they get their goods?
You select it and then we send a courier to deliver,
Okay.
but at your cost.
Okay, so you pay for the delivery.
Yes.
Okay, so the payment systems are not working.
No, they are not working. Other people will talk of mobile money, but it's still to a large extent inconvenient to the customer because walking and looking for vendors to where they
Okay, so they don't have a wide
exactly,
network.
yeah.
Okay.
So normally we will ask you to pay into our account. That is if you are outside Accra, and then
And then you send it by bus or something.
yeah, bus, yes, commercial transport.
So now you're not selling Africa-wide then because of this limitation, maybe in Nigeria and other countries?
No, we don't. We don't. We sell to the UK and the US. That we post.
Okay.
But fortunately, if we have somebody traveling, then we
Same old traditional route. So those barriers are still there?
yes.
Okay, so it's possible, but you still have to innovate around it.
Exactly.
Okay, so thank you for answering that question. And thank you very much. It's been wonderful. You were so quiet on me for a moment. I didn't know whether you were listening or you were taking it in or you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.